coached and everything when I went.
Oh.
You know, they put me through school, and then I got my license and everything, and gone through that way. Yeah.
So you sort of naturally came along with an interest in this stuff, right?
Right. It's a passion I love to do, and you know, it's an art.
Yep.
It's an art, so you know, it's something that I really love to do.
Well, it means that you like to be with people.
I haven't got all my urns yet, but
Oh, okay.
I'm working on that. I like 3. There's 3 more coming.
Well, now you were raised on Back Mountain, right?
Right.
And did you have brothers and sisters?
I had 2 brothers. They were 8 years and 10 years older than me.
Okay.
One's Rick Lance, and he graduated in '85. And one's Kenny Lance. He graduated in '83.
Yeah, that was during my time. What did you? What was your dad and mom's name?
Joan and Woody Lance.
So I imagine a lot of people know them quite well.
They probably do. I mean, my dad,
particularly in the upper end.
Yeah, my dad worked over at the dam over here at Petco whenever it was going strong, and my mom came back after construction and worked on the state road there for about 10 years or so.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me about your services here. I mean, the things you do for people.
We do about anything you want to think of. I mean, we take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, anything to do with that.
Well, tell me what happens. I don't mean to be morbid, but Doug, tell me what happens when we die, as far as the funeral director is concerned. How does that go down?
Well, they call us. We go out and pick up the body and contact the family and see what they want to do. And, you know, in the state of West Virginia, it's not a law to be embalmed, but
you don't have to be involved. Some people and some people don't get involved.
Right.
I believe. Well, I don't know, but I know that there are people that don't get embalmed.
Right.
But there's a law about having to be buried within a certain amount of time, right?
Well, they leave that up to the funeral home, and the funeral home requires that. You know, if they have refrigeration, then they can hold them over a 2 or 3 day period. Then.
Oh, okay.
You know, but they can't view them. I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't put them in the open.
Right.
Okay, so a person leaves this world, and the family contacts you. What's next?
We arrange to meet and stuff if they.
So you have kind of a family conference, right? And I believe we probably pass through a conference room of some sort here.
Yeah, either in the office or the hallway
right.
Or somewhere. I mean,
and you discuss their options?
Their options.
Are there quite a few options with? Pocahontas County is a small county. We're not used to options. But what are some of the options that might be available here?
Well, you know, if you're looking at cremation, you know, you can have full-fledged funeral before, you know, and rent a casket.
Yes.
Before you go and be cremated.
Well, you know, that's a nice thought. So, in the cremation still can have an organized, standard funeral.
Right.
Okay, let's go with the cremation first, because more and more people are being cremated nowadays. So, a person decides they want to be cremated. Do they have to? How do they specify that? Is that specified in a will or some type of document?
Usually, they tell the family members, and the family members carry out their wishes.
They honor it out.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with cremation, what happens? I'm trying to give people a little idea of what the physical steps are involved.
There's as the family conference meeting and everything. There's paperwork that we fill out and everything, and they go through, fill all that stuff out. You know, we walk them through the process and everything, and then however they want to do it. You know, whether it's a straight direct cremation or a visitation and then cremation, or a funeral and visitation, funeral and visit.
So they have some options there with that,
yes.
Even though they're being cremated.
Yes.
And now the interment, basically they're going to their ashes will be put in
one of them over there.
In one of the urns.
Yeah, one of the urns.
Okay. Now there's nothing. Is there anything in the law that says what is to be done with the ashes? Are that's up to the family?
That's up to the family. Yes.
So they can choose to set the ashes on the shelf,
yes,
or to spread the ashes.
Well, as long as it's in a dignified way. I mean, so they're not, infringing on the EPA or something like that.
Right. There are limitations to that.
Yes.
I know that.
Yes.
Sometimes people, whenever they die, they want to have their ashes spread by an airplane, or they want to have their ashes put in water, or, in the river or something. Is it really very difficult? I mean, does a person have pretty wide latitude? A lot of that's just symbolic, of course. Well, it's all symbolic, but sometimes you have sort of a preference.
Right.
So, could they have their ashes spread on the national forest?
I'm sure as long as nobody knows about it or anything, I'm sure they can.
Yeah. So basically, that's up to them. That's out of your bailiwick.
Yes.
Because your job is to deliver.
Right. I hand the ashes over to the family, and they go. Whatever they do with them is their business and stuff.
Well, I don't mean to be morbid, but where do you get cremated around here?
There's several different places throughout the state. I mean, you can go to Backley, you can take them to Backley, you can take them to Princeton, Morgantown, just different places in the state.
Okay, now, in the interest of sort of educating ourselves here, a person can be cremated and then the ashes are there, but some people like to be buried, they don't like to be underground. And I can understand that. So they can be buried in a mausoleum.
Mausoleum.
Get that straight.
And they have one up in
And we have one at Mountain View.
Yes.
Well, okay, say for instance I don't want to go in the ground. I want to be put in a mausoleum. How do I go about that?
Just like I said, at the family conference and everything, you tell me, I'll arrange all that kind of stuff and everything, have it open and all that, and then we'll go up there, have the graveside ceremony just outside the mausoleum, and then after the family leaves, I'll stay there and make sure that they put the casket in the mausoleum and stuff.
Yeah. Now, of course, this mausoleum up here at Mountain View is not a walk-in. I know down there at Huntington they have a walk-in type thing. Looks pretty neat. But basically there, who do you have to contact? Or someone has to contact? Yeah.
Town of Marlington.
The Town of Marlington?
Yes.
And will they open it up?
Yes, they will.
They'll open
There's a fee for it, and I'm not sure. I'd have to look about the fee and stuff. But
then you can have a full-fledged funeral here. Or you could have a mausoleum side, I guess, grave side.
It would be a grave side. After you get done here, you'd go and have the committal there. So, yeah.
And after the committal, who closes it up?
Be the town.
The town closes it up.
And I'd have to be there too.
Yeah, I know the funeral director has to be on site.
Yes.
That is
state law. That is.
Yeah, because your job is not done until it's sealed up or filled in.
Right.
Now, let's go from the mausoleum. Well, I have a tendency to drag that O out. The mausoleum to a person just dies. Okay, what happens if they die at home? What's the steps?
Well, it depends on if they're in hospice care or nursing care or, anything like that.
Okay, now in hospice care, what's the steps with hospice care?
Hospice care, they'll call us and then we can go out and get them and stuff. They have a doctor on call and stuff, and their nurse calls the doctor and tells them, because we have to have death certificates signed and things like that, the proper paperwork. So, and that covers us and everything because the nurse can actually say that they're deceased. If they die without anybody present or anything, then there's some different steps that has to be involved. Usually be a county medical examiner or county coroner. Then the sheriff's department also has to be involved, or state police has to be involved. Make sure there's no foul play or anything like that. And then it's their obligation to contact Charleston, whether to send them to Charleston or not for the autopsy.
When my mother died, I was offered the option of an autopsy, even though she did not die alone by herself. My wife and my daughter were there at the time, but they did suggest that I could do that. I chose not to do that because I've read so much that I'm not very excited about autopsies at all. But if you do have foul play, that's the only way you're going to find out. No autopsy, you're never going to know. It's going to be a forever question, isn't it?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so a person has died. They're in normal circumstances. No autopsy is involved. How does it go there? You have the family conference.
Family conference.
And you set it up. Now, you have preachers. We have preachers around here that will do the service.
Yep.
Now, it's been my experience, because I am a preacher, it's that funeral services are not usually very long. We've always had an unwritten rule. I don't know that maybe I'm the only guy that does that, but I don't think you personally should have a real long service. And you're smiling, so either I'm wrong or you've got a different notion of it.
That's highly up to the minister and family. I mean, we're here
and they know the
for
family
support. I mean, that's,
Well, what about, let's go in here and look at the chapel. What about when the service is here, you have a wake. Some people call it a wake. You call it a viewing.
Right.
And people would come here to the viewing, and the body would be up there.
Right.
It's the family's decision to be open or closed.
Right.
Now, do you use pictures or anything?
Yes, I do have a slide projector, and it's through my computer.
Right, yeah, I know what's coming.
I offer that in my services and stuff whenever we're having a conference and everything. I offer that to be able to have a slideshow during the viewing and stuff. So.
Well, let's say, for example, I'm looking at it from a technical standpoint. We're having a service here. You have a screen somewhere?
Actually, the last time I put the screen out there due to all the people that we had in here.
You had a big one there.
People, yeah, we had about 100 people in here for the funeral and everything. So I put a slide projector out in the hallway so that,
Well, now some people like to have a computer and a monitor set up in the hallway where they can just go by and look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good idea.
So we had that out there. Night of viewing, I had the projector up here inside, and
because I assume whenever you have a viewing, the lights will be lowered.
No, I always wanted a bright funeral home.
Well, I think you got a good philosophy there.
Dark,
Yeah.
I didn't like the dark and dinginess of most funeral homes.
Right.
So, no, I wanted it lit up.
Well, you've got a beautiful thing. It's been said that this is a beautiful chapel. All right, we've had the service, but in the midst of the service, we're going to have someone play some music. I guess we have people who do keyboards. I believe Jane L. Tibbs is one of the popular persons to do things like that.
Yeah.
You've got a pretty elaborate, these things aren't that big anymore, pretty elaborate keyboard. Do you use you even use a wireless system, I see, for amplified, and I assume there's probably a speaker somewhere.
Right overhead.
Oh yeah, that's good. Okay.
And I have a sound system in the office in there.
Now let me ask you something. Whenever you have a viewing, do you have music kind of underlaying it? That's been sort of a Wallace and Wallace tradition, hadn't it? Seemed like I remember them having music.
Yeah. The last place I went to, they didn't have. The last place I worked, he didn't want to play music until about 5 minutes till the service.
Yeah.
5 or 10 minutes till the service. And, I've always liked the kind of background music because you can sit in here and talk, and you can't hear somebody out there talking.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
Background music.
I love the idea of the background music. Now I assume the family has the option to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And do you have music?
I do. Yes. I have several different
Tracks.
groups. Yeah. The Gaithers, the Statler Brothers.
Southern Gospel.
Yes.
We love that Southern Gospel. That's great.
Yeah.
So we've had our service now. One of the local ministers probably, maybe somebody brought in. Anybody can do a service. You're the one that has to be licensed, but anybody can do the preaching part.
Lay minister or anything.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to speak. Whoever family wants to speak.
Right, and the family gets it. That's their choice.
Right.
Okay, so we've had her service now, and we've closed. What's your usual? I'm trying to figure this myself. Your usual thing will be whenever it's time for the service to close, you probably have a prearranged signal with the minister?
Yes.
Well, where will he do? What will he do? Will he step over here somewhere? Or does he step out there?
Mainly he just, if he wants to, he can stay back there. He can go greet the family. I mean, it's highly up to him what he wants to do. It just
Preachers are definitely do that on their own.
You know, there's several different ways to end the service. You can come in and ask the family to step out. You can, it's highly up to the funeral director. He can come in and get the casket, take it out.
Oh, that's right. You will have a side exit here.
Yes.
You don't have to go back through the thing there.
No.
And that takes you right out to your parking lot, right?
Right. My hearse and my flyer vehicle will be right outside the door there.
So what have you got in the way of transportation?
I have a Suburban and the hearse.
Okay. So the funeral has concluded, and folks will be. Do you use flower girls anymore? Like time there'll be a lot of flowers
Maybe
here.
At a church or something.
Yeah.
You'll use flower girls. Here at the chapel, we usually use the pallbearers to they're coming in and everything to take the casket out. So we'll just use the pallbearers too.
Okay. What's the current tradition about pallbearers? When I was growing up, Doug, it used to be that it was a really big deal. Some of the first things you asked for was who's going to be the pallbearers. But it doesn't seem to be that big a deal anymore.
No, it's not. Your pallbearers back then either dug the grave and filled it back in. Most of them done that back then. But nowadays, I mean, it's just carry the casket to the grave, and then they have machines to do all that other stuff. So.
Well, let's talk about the grave. So we've come to the grave. You've been here for so many years. You've probably been to an awful lot of these cemeteries. When we've arrived, what's the first thing we're going to see when we get to the cemetery? We'll see the tent, right?
Family's mainly going to see the tent, yes. The tent.
And there'll be somebody there to dig the grave.
Yes. Somebody should have already been there and dug the grave and all that.
And usually, now this is one of the neat things about this county, usually the people I've seen, they're there during the service, and they stand off to one side. Mm-hmm. Most people would never notice them, you know.
Right. And they try to, they try to hide their vehicles or their equipment too.
Right.
I mean, which is nice.
And the vault truck will usually be there, and the reason for that is it has to be lowered into the grave. Yeah. Well, it'll already be there, won't it? And the vault will already be down. It's just a matter of putting the lid on.
Putting the lid on, right.
Okay.
And there's several different options there. I mean, you can seal it above ground, which is a lot more work for the vault company, but that's highly up to the family. I mean, if they want it sealed above ground or, want it sealed below ground.
Yeah.
There's just options, a lot of options.
Well, what do you mean? I just asked the question, what do you mean sealed above ground? There's a key or something you use, right? You crank it down?
Well, no, the lid weighs almost 1,000 pounds.
Oh, that's the vault lid?
Yes.
Okay,
and
you've already sealed the casket, right?
Yes, I've already sealed the casket, seal it in here before it leaves. But in the lid of it works as a tongue and groove, and the lid comes right down on that. Mm-hmm. And in that lid there'll be sealant inside that lid, and as it sets down on there, that weight will push it right down on there. The tongue sticking up.
Well, we've got the vault. We've figured out about how the vault works, mm-hmm. And then the grave. Those that dig the grave will be standing thereby when the family has left.
Right.
And you usually have chairs. Around here we have chairs, although sometimes I guess there are just standing.
Yeah, it depends on the slope of the hill or whatever.
Right. So. Well, I wanted to ask you too, and I'm doing this more for general information, but we have an honor guard here, don't we? Mm-hmm. We have a good honor guard.
A great one, yes. Which is certified through the president too.
That's good.
Yeah.
So the honor guard will already be there.
Yes.
Now,
if they're a veteran.
When do we use a veteran? We use a veteran for we use an honor guard when we have a vet.
Right. And that's highly up to the family. I mean, if they want to use them or not. It's all free. I mean, to have the 21 gun salute and all that. So, you know, it's highly up to the family. About anything you do is up to the family.
But how will that be taken care of? I mean, will that's your job as director, right? Is
Yes.
to find out, you'll ask the question in that conference?
Yes, and then make my phone calls and stuff, and they'll organize all that. I'll make one phone call and they'll organize all that and have it all there time we get there and stuff. My main objective is to make sure the flag is draped over the casket before we leave here.
Now, we can even, I say we, but I'm not a veteran, but it wouldn't apply to me, but a veteran could have taps played. Now, you have an interesting thing with the honor guard, they can do taps. Of course, Barry Sharp was the standard bearer for taps. He could play the real thing.
Bugle, yes.
But if someone can't, they have a special kind of bugle. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So they have their 21 gun salute. What does that mean? 21 gun salute. Why 21?
It's just an honor of
for having been a vet.
I should know that question, but truthfully, I don't know the answer.
Well, it's not sometimes I ask questions that really don't need an answer.
There is a significance to that. And
oh yeah, there's a significance to even the folding of the flag.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that.
There should be 13 folds for the flag.
Yeah.
Each one of them folds represent a different.
I'm going to find out about that someday, just exactly, because my wife was at a school event which they just explained that, but unfortunately I wasn't. So I'd like to know about that.
Yeah, I need to find out about that too.
So our honor guard has just fired their shots. I've noticed that they will gather their casings up. Now, do they give the casings to the widow or to the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I've seen those poor people stand out in the cold.
Yes.
Buck Pritt was an honor guard, and he had to carry oxygen on him. So they're doing a mighty good job.
They are. And, you know, if it is cold or something out there like that, I'll tell them guys that, you know, don't worry about being standing out there in formation and stuff. Time I get there, you all stay in your vehicles, because it is, you know.
Oh, I know it can be really, yeah. They're getting old.
Yes. And, you know, I told them a couple times whenever I worked at Wallace & Wallace, just stay in your vehicles. I'll give you enough time whenever I get there and stuff to get out in formation before I'll do anything, so that, you know, they can get in formation and stuff, and so they're not standing out there in this blistering cold weather.
Oh, and we can have some cold times in Pocahontas County.
Especially at cemeteries, because it seems like it's...
Oh, I know. It seems like it's always on the hill where the wind's blowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they have concluded this service. Usually the minister, I'm just telling you what I know, it may be wrong, but the minister will go by and he'll shake hands with the family. Do you shake hands with the family?
No, I usually don't.
So you basically try not to be seen too much. That's good thinking.
Yeah.
That's perfectly all right, because that's a minister's job. And then after that, after the family has left, there'll be some activity. Number one, they'll be filling in the grave. How about that tent?
That tent comes down first.
Okay.
The casket will go in while the tent's coming down or something like that. The casket will be lowered into the grave. Then after the tent and the grass and all that stuff's removed, they'll come in and put the lid on the vault, and then it'll be the grave digger's clue to cover it up.
Okay.